Good morning and welcome to the Forex Daily Update, brought to you by Pepperstone on Wednesday the 14th of February 2018. I'm Darren Sinden and you can follow me throughout the day on Twitter by using @ds_Pepperstone. Right, let's take a look at overnight changes and price moves to be aware of. I'm just going to focus on two key items as far as I'm concerned in the market today. First of all, the yen trading against the dollar with 107 handle, 107.17 shortly before we recorded the video. That's gains of around 0.6% over the last 24 hours, nearly 2% over the week, and just over 3% for the yen over the last month. Meanwhile, the dollar itself trading below that key 90 level as expressed by dollar index at 89.50. And just look at the dollar losses really over the last 12 months, down by 11.54%. Been relatively sanguine, or static I should say, perhaps over the last month and the last week. Nonetheless, it does suggest to me that we could well be seeing some of these safe haven flows I've mentioned now moving into the yen. In the world of cryptocurrencies, it's been a better week for Bitcoin, Ether and Ripple, all up by decent double-digit gains, 16.5%, 15.4%, and in the case of Ripple, an impressive 45.33% rally over the last 7 days. Right, what's on the calendar then? Events that may move the markets today. A pretty packed calendar, so we'll jump straight in to say that 7 AM we'll see the release of GDP data for Q4 from Germany, alongside a key inflation measure, the harmonised index of consumer prices, year-on-year measure for January. Then at 8 AM we stay in Germany for a speech from the German Bundesbank President Jens Wiedmann, and at 8:50 the Swiss National Bank Governor and board member Zubrig will be speaking. We don't hear too often from central bankers from Switzerland outside of Mr. Jordan, so it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say. Now at 10 AM, European gross domestic product data for Q4, obviously very influential how fast or otherwise the Eurozone economy is growing, and it's also accompanied at the same time by industrial production data for the Eurozone for December. So two key numbers there that could well impinge on the directional trend in the euro today. And at 10:20 another central bank speech, this time from the ECB's board member Mersch, and at 11:20 a further speech from the Swiss National Bank's Zubrig. So two bites of the cherry there for Mr. Zubrig. Now 13:30 retail sales out in the States for January, and that will be accompanied by CPI data for January as well. Probably the most important figure of the day, given how much volatility we saw recently, and that was blamed on concerns about rising inflation pressures in the US. Right, breaking news and comment then that's caught my eye overnight. First of all, Malaysian Q4 GDP grows at 5.9%, beating forecasts of 5.7%. but slowing compared to the 6.2% we saw in the prior quarter. Australian consumer confidence has fallen in February. That contrasts with a strong rise in business sentiment, you'll recall, we saw earlier in the week. Staying in the Antipodes, and New Zealand food inflation hits a 9-month low. So whilst rising inflation is an issue in certain parts of the globe, it's not a concern in New Zealand at the moment, in fact quite the opposite. And Donald Trump's infrastructure spending plans are melting away, says the FT. Plans released this week show just $200 billion of federal funding available for infrastructure spending over the next 10 years, a far cry from the $1.5 trillion that was promised in Mr. Trump's campaign. Right, food for thought, something to take away with you into the trading day and beyond. Why not think about this? The recently released Bank of America Merrill Lynch Fund Manager Survey shows us where fund managers believe the most crowded trade is currently. And in this month's edition, tech stocks, the so-called FANG and BAT trade, is considered to be the most crowded trade. And the chart here shows the evolution of that trade over the last 3 years worth of surveys. Quite an interesting chart to spend some time looking at and seeing how that crowded trade has changed as far as fund managers are concerned. Right, thank you very much for your time. Please take a moment to read the risk warning. Trading CFDs and foreign exchange on margin can be a risky business. If you're in any doubt about those risks, please do contact your Pepperstone account representative.